So if you know anything about Donald Trump, you'll know that he's all about branding. And part of his branding is he likes to brag, I'm the best deal maker of all time. I can do any deal in a day, or I can solve any war in a day, right? He'll say these kind of things. It doesn't really make sense, but there's that. Then he'll send out his minions and they'll all be like, oh yeah, we're working on Trump speed and this is going to be so fast. You're going to be so tired of winning. Well, I want to pull back the curtain and give you guys an idea of what's going on today. This is the headlines. South Korean negotiators struggle to close gaps with U.S. despite summit tariff deal. And when they use the word deal in this article, I'll say that is a very loose term. It's probably better to say talks or negotiations would be more appropriate. Basically, what's going on is there's nothing in writing. That's what it boils down to. They can't even come up with like a fact sheet, normally like, hey, can we at least both sides, Korea and USA, write down a few things that we've quote agreed on. But the problem is if you know anything about dealing business with Trump, he changes his mind. He's erratic. He'll go back on his word. And then lately they just make all of these crazy, unrealistic demands, buy more US weapons, take more of our products. And like, Korea's like, you'd be crazy. On top of that, it's not just Korea. Japan is actually feeling the same thing. This was the headline in CNBC. Japan's top trade negotiator cancels trip to U.S. over trade deal issues. And again, deal is a loose term in this regard. Again, nothing in writing, nothing signed, right? It's all, yes, we are talking, but you can't make these kind of demands. And this is also coming out today. Trump demanded for Japan to buy more U.S. rice, snag trade talks. And just let that sink in, right? Trump's trying to go to Japan and say, hey, our rice makers in USA, they're really struggling, and you should just take American rice. Why would you want to buy Japanese rice, right? I know you're in Japan, but I mean, you really want to buy American rice, don't you? Or, no, as ridiculous as it sounds, or it's like going to Japan and say, hey, I know you make, Toyota and Honda and Mazda, and you can talk about Nissan, although Nissan's struggling, right? I'll give you that. But instead of those cars in Japan, why don't you buy our Fords and Chevys? Because, I mean, Fords and Chevys are awesome. Who wants to buy Toyota or Honda in Japan? That's the kind of nonsense that we're talking about. And if you want to try that in Korea, right? Hey, I know you got Kia and Hyundai. You should really buy Fords and Chevys, right? And I just say, guys, good luck with that. This is, why Trump is just absolutely awful at this stuff. Plus, the people working with Trump have no idea the countries that they're dealing with, and they're trying to do this all at the same time. It's insane. And then this has been our local news, right? Trump administration restricts Samsung chip making in China. And this is the game plan that the Trump people are trying to do is they're trying to, tell countries, you got to choose us. It's either me or China. What are you going to do? And it's like, if you're in Korea or Australia or New Zealand, if you're in Europe, you're just like, hey, I just want to do business with everybody. I don't want to have to choose like who I'm going to be friends with. Like it's like this high school clique where Trump's like, well, I won't be your friend if you're still friends with them. Like, how do you do business with these kind of people? So obviously this has been massive news here in Korea, and it's actually really interesting. I've noticed the news really, really turn on Trump here in Korea. So before, it was fairly neutral because it's like, Korea's got their own problems, same way Japan have their own problems, and every country's got their own problems. But the problem is like, if Trump is kind of pulling Elon stuff to where he was like spreading conspiracy theories about Korea, etc. And this was in our news, like the last couple of days of like, why is Trump spreading conspiracy stuff about Korea for reals? And then basically what it was, if you don't know, before the president that was impeached here in Korea and arrested was basically a Korean version of Trump. Conspiracy theory stuff, spreading a bunch of far right kind of things and just nonsense. And then I actually tried to declare martial law, which I made several videos on. You guys should watch that stuff. But the point being, though, is that Trump, this supposed master negotiator or whatever, is really turning a lot of people away, or turning off, I should say, as other countries are pulling away from the U.S. thanks to Trump. This was also the news today. Xi and Modi, so we're talking about China and India, say they are partners, not rivals, in bid to repair China-India ties. So you can see what's going on. It's pretty obvious, right? Trump recently put tariffs on imports from India. I think it's at 50% or something like that. There's still, Trump's still doing his trade war thing with China. China's in a much stronger position than the USA in terms of like building relationships around the world. And that's what they've been doing. And you can just see it. And what Trump is trying to do in his family, their priority is like, hey, how can I do more scams? How can I do more crypto? I showed you guys this stuff in the last video, but I just got to keep showing it to you guys because, as I always say, follow the money. This stuff is so ridiculous. Easier to pump. Crypto coin backed by Trump's opens for trading. Great. And if you know Trump's priority is like put as much gold in the White House as you can, build a ballroom, and hey, we're open for corruption with the Trump family. And this is all in public. This is Bloomberg here. So don't think this is like some obscure media. And I always have to mention that because it's so ridiculous. I look at the financial news every day and it's like Trump scam here, Trump scam there, Trump scam everywhere, right? And that doesn't even get into the ICE stuff or his following in the polls, et cetera, et cetera. And then I just want to show you international news too, because people always ask what's going on. And then you got this, and this actually ties into kind of the domestic policy, right? Bitcoin boom spurs newly wealthy to splurge on luxury travel. Okay. And there's another article that's directly related. Wealthy Americans are traveling to Europe to dodge tariffs on luxury goods. So what do you think is going on here, right? So on the one hand, you have Trump bragging that he's this awesome deal maker. And then you have like experienced, reasonable people in various countries. If you want to talk about Europe, if you want to talk about, Japan, if you want to talk about Korea, if you want to talk about China, that's fine as well. But they're all kind of reporting the same thing. And like I see it article after article, or, people say what's going on the inside. It's just like, you can't trust the Trump people. They make unrealistic demands. They change their mind. Nothing's in writing. And even if it is, Trump will just like tweet out something stupid and you're just like, what? And then you have, which is really interesting, which you kind of know this stuff already, regardless of what Trump says, people in his billionaire class, right? They're mostly going to get the benefits of this stuff. Or even if Trump does try to put in some sort of thing, let's say tariffs or whatever, then the wealthy will figure out ways to evade that. And I was like, okay, fine. If you're going to put tariffs on luxury goods or whatever, I'm just going to fly to the country and get it. But the average person can't do that. The average person can't just avoid, Trump's taxes or do whatever tax shelter things that they're going to do. And this is actually reflected in this chart. This is consumer sentiment. If there's one thing that I want you to get from this today is this chart right here, consumer sentiment. It breaks it down by income, okay? So you got three brackets here. You got income, 100,000 plus. That sentiment is actually going up a little bit. You can actually literally see it in the chart. And then you got income for people between 50,000 and 100,000, and that's actually going down. You can see that's a consumer sentiment. And then you have income under 50,000, which is flat, but lower than all the other three. The point I'm trying to get across to you, and as I go through all of this, and this particular chart shows that, yes, maybe if you're a billionaire or whatever, you're going to be okay. And it's like, wow, well, things are going great. Oh, Trump's doing everything great for me. But for the most, right, the biggest pool of Americans, be it middle, right, or lower income Americans, the sentiments are going to start to go down. And I've actually been seeing that in various earnings reports. And I know this chart doesn't reflect that, but various earnings reports, be it, like what Walmart and these kind of things where they say many upper income Americans are now coming into, places like a Walmart because costs are soaring everywhere. I mean, this, as the U.S. economy sags and as Trump fails to make any sort of deal that he's promised, and as other countries pull away, things are going to get worse. And this is another chart that, and I think you guys kind of know this, but I just want to show you in numbers. This is another chart. This is the unemployment, and I think we're at 4.3 unemployment, something in that realm. But jobs report I think is going to come out this week, and they were saying that they're expecting like 4 months in a row of, I guess, new jobs at under 100,000. And effectively that's like, hasn't been this bad in terms of jobs. You have to go all the way back to 2020, which is like the COVID years. And basically things are not looking good. I think you already know this, but I just wanted to put it all into perspective because Trump says, well, we're winning all the time and I'm going to get all these deals and you're all going to be great. But the numbers don't say that. And the only one who's saying that everyone's going to be great is either the wealthy people who can, leave the country to evade taxes or whatever, or people who are in the Trump administration and just put out nonsense because they're completely disconnected from the lives of regular Americans. So that's what's going on. I just wanted to share it with you guys. I know there's a lot to go over, but I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on this stuff, and I'll keep you updated if there are any signed deals from Trump, but I haven't seen anything yet. So I do appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.